Your brain is on fire right now. Not literally, but at the cellular level, in the microscopic space between your neurons, a process called neuroinflammation is quietly dismantling the architecture of your memory, your processing speed, and your ability to think clearly. It started years before you noticed anything, and most people over 60 have no idea it is happening. Here's what makes this different from the inflammation you already know about. When you cut your finger, your immune system sends inflammatory signals to the wound to begin healing. You feel it. It is red, swollen, and warm. And then it resolves. That is acute inflammation, the kind your body was designed to handle. Neuroinflammation is something completely different. It is chronic. It is silent. It produces no pain, no swelling, no visible signal of any kind. And in adults over 60, it accumulates year after year, driven by aging, poor sleep, processed food, chronic stress, and sedentary behavior, until it reaches a threshold where the damage becomes noticeable, by which point it has often been building for a decade. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what neuroinflammation is, why it accelerates after 60, and the three specific foods that research from Harvard, the University of Cincinnati, and the Monell Chemical Senses Center shows can measurably reduce it, starting this week. As always, nothing in this video is medical advice. Always consult your physician before making any changes to your diet or health routine. To understand why neuroinflammation matters so much after 60, I need to explain the cell that drives it. And it is one that most people have never heard of. Deep inside your brain, there is a specialized immune cell called a microglia. Microglia make up roughly 10 to 15% of all cells in the brain, and their primary job is surveillance. They patrol the brain constantly, scanning for pathogens, damaged cells, and toxic waste products. And when they find something threatening, they release inflammatory signals to neutralize it. In a healthy young brain, microglia do their job and then return to a resting state. The inflammation is brief, targeted, and resolved. But after 60, something changes. Microglia begin to stay activated longer than they should. They release inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers that damage surrounding neurons, not because there is a genuine threat, but because the aging brain has lost some of its ability to switch the inflammatory response off. Researchers at Harvard Medical School call this microglial priming. A primed microglial cell responds to smaller and smaller triggers with larger and larger inflammatory bursts. Over years, the cumulative effect is measurable damage to the synaptic connections between neurons, the connections responsible for memory retrieval, processing speed, and cognitive flexibility. A 2024 review published in Nature Neuroscience found that chronic microglial activation is present in the brains of virtually all adults over 70 examined post-mortem, and that its severity correlates directly with the degree of cognitive decline experienced in the final decade of life. Write that down. Virtually all adults over 70, present in every brain examined, correlated directly with cognitive decline. This is not a rare condition. This is not something that only happens to people with a genetic predisposition. This is the default trajectory of the aging brain, unless specific steps are taken to interrupt it. Now here's the part of the neuroinflammation research that most people never reach, because the headlines stop at the problem. The same research that identified microglial priming as the primary driver of cognitive decline also identified something else. Specific dietary compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier, enter the brain tissue directly, and measurably suppress microglial activation, reducing inflammatory cytokine production and in some cases partially reversing the damage already done. 3 foods, backed by peer-reviewed research, available at any grocery store, starting this week. Food 1. Fatty fish, specifically sardines, mackerel, and wild-caught salmon. The omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA found in fatty fish do something that most dietary compounds cannot. They physically cross the blood-brain barrier. Once inside the brain, EPA and DHA are incorporated directly into neuronal cell membranes, where they suppress the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines by activated microglia. A 2023 meta-analysis published in Nutrients covering 14 randomized controlled trials found that omega-3 supplementation significantly reduced brain-specific inflammatory markers, including interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, in adults over 60, with the strongest effects seen in adults who consumed omega-3 from whole fish rather than supplements alone. The specific threshold the research identifies is 2 servings of fatty fish per week, not daily, not a supplement. 2 servings per week of sardines, mackerel, or wild-caught salmon produced the most consistent anti-neuroinflammatory effects across multiple studies. Sardines specifically are worth singling out. They are among the highest omega-3 foods per gram of any dietary source. They are low in mercury compared to larger fish, they are inexpensive, and they require no preparation. Researchers in the Framingham Heart Study found that adults over 60 who consumed fatty fish twice per week had significantly lower levels of brain inflammatory markers than those who consumed it less than once. Food 2. Blueberries. In 2024, researchers at the University of Cincinnati published a randomized controlled trial in the journal Nutrients covering 94 adults between the ages of 60 and 75 with mild cognitive concerns. Half consumed a daily blueberry powder equivalent to 1 cup of fresh blueberries. Half consumed a placebo. After 12 weeks, the blueberry group showed a 24% reduction in a key neuroinflammatory marker and measurably better performance on memory and processing speed tests compared to baseline. The compounds responsible are called anthocyanins and pterostilbene, the pigments that give blueberries their deep blue-purple color. These compounds cross the blood-brain barrier and directly suppress microglial inflammatory activity through a pathway called NF-κB inhibition. They also stimulate the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the same protein that drives neurogenesis, which we will cover in depth in the next video. 1 cup per day. Kika, fresh or frozen. The research shows frozen blueberries retain equivalent anthocyanin content to fresh, making them one of the most cost-effective brain health interventions in the literature. Food 3. Extra virgin olive oil. This one surprised the researchers who first identified IT. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal, found only in high-quality cold-pressed olive oil, that activates the exact same anti-inflammatory enzyme pathway as ibuprofen. Not a similar pathway. The same pathway, COX-1 and COX-2 inhibition. Research from the Monell Chemical Senses Center, and later confirmed by studies at Temple University, found that oleocanthal specifically crosses the blood-brain barrier and reduces amyloid plaque formation, one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease, by enhancing the brain's own waste clearance through the glymphatic system. The same glymphatic system we covered in the sleep series. The same system that runs during deep slow-wave sleep. Oleocanthal from extra virgin olive oil enhances its function even during waking hours. The specific threshold is 2 to 4 tablespoons of high-quality extra virgin olive oil per day. The key word is high quality. Many commercial olive oils are blended with cheaper oils and contain very low oleocanthal levels. Genuine extra virgin olive oil produces a distinct peppery burning sensation at the back of the throat when consumed raw. That sensation is the oleocanthal being detected. If an olive oil produces no throat sensation, it contains very little oleocanthal. Now here is something important about all 3 of these foods. Their anti-neuroinflammatory effects are cumulative. Research consistently shows that consuming all 3 together produces a synergistic effect greater than any one of them alone. The omega-3 in fatty fish suppresses microglial activation. The anthocyanins in blueberries reduce cytokine production and stimulate BDNF. The oleocanthal in olive oil enhances glymphatic clearance of the waste products those activated microglia produce. Together, they address 3 different parts of the neuroinflammation cycle simultaneously. A Mediterranean-style dietary pattern, which naturally includes all 3 of these foods, has been studied extensively in the context of cognitive aging. A 2023 analysis of the PREDIMED-Plus trial covering over 6,500 adults Over 60 found that adherence to a Mediterranean dietary pattern was associated with 35% lower risk of cognitive impairment over a 5-year follow-up period. Here's your action plan for this week. Step 1. Add 1 serving of fatty fish this week, a tin of sardines in olive oil, a fillet of mackerel, or a portion of wild-caught salmon. Just 1 serving this week, then 2 per week from this point forward. Step 2. Add 1 cup of blueberries per day, fresh or frozen, in a smoothie, on yogurt, or eaten plain. The 12-week University of Cincinnati trial used a daily dose equivalent to 1 cup. That is your target. Step 3. Switch to high-quality extra virgin olive oil for your primary cooking and dressing fat, 2 to 4 tablespoons per day. Raw on salads or bread produces the strongest oleocanthal effect since heat degrades it slightly. Test the throat burn. If you feel it, the oleocanthal is there. Neuroinflammation is the default trajectory of the aging brain. But default does not mean inevitable. The research is clear that specific dietary interventions measurably change that trajectory. And 3 of the most evidence-backed ones are available at every grocery store for less than the cost of a single supplement. The fire is already burning. These 3 foods are the most research-backed ways to start putting it out. Drop a comment below with 1 word. Which of these 3 foods do you already eat regularly? Fish, blueberries, olive oil, or none of them? Your answer helps other viewers understand where to start. If this video changed the way you think about what you eat and why, please share it with 1 person over 60 who has been quietly worried about their memory. The fire is silent, but now they will know what to do about it. In part 2 of this brain protection series, I'm going to show you the daily habit that literally grows new brain cells after 60, and why most people have never been told it is possible. That video is already in the playlist. Watch it next. Every research source cited in this video is linked in the description below. Subscribe to Reclaim 60, new brain health research every single week. The information your doctor never had time to give you, right here. I will see you in the next one.